This week, we drive the facelifted BMW 3 Series and ride the Bajaj V15. Then we pit the Mercedes GLE 450 AMG Coupe against an RC airplane. And Maruti Alto crosses the 3 million milestone.
Over the past year or so, Mercedes-Benz has launched the all-new C-Class and Volvo has updated the S60 with a new range of engines. At Auto Expo 2016, Jaguar launched the all-new XC and Audi gave its next-gen A4 its first Indian showing. With so much happening in the luxury sedan segment, BMW really needed to do something to keep the attention on the 3 Series. It's got in the updated model for the job. Let's see what's new. As part of the refresh, the 3 Series gets subtle tweaks inside and out. The tweaks may not seem very subtle on this particular car, but that's because this is the new top-end M Sport version. It features sportier front and rear bumpers, M badging on the flanks, and is the only one available in this racy Estoril blue paint shade. What is new and common to all versions of the updated 3 Series are the full LED headlights and LED taillights that are identifiable by these new streaks. There's nothing vastly different in the 3 Series cabin either, but enthusiasts will welcome the long overdue addition of paddle shifters on the 320d. Where BMW has focused its attention is on improving material quality. While the changes have made the cabin look marginally richer than before, it's still not quite at C-Class levels. M Sport trim cars as this one get heads-up display, sport front seats, a sporty 3-spoke steering wheel, and enough 4 carbon fiber detailing to make you think you're sitting in something hardcore. Among the other features, a sunroof and high-res 8.8-inch screen for the iDrive infotainment system are standard fit, but there's still no reverse camera. As before, the 3 Series remains among the most comfortable of its luxury sedan peers, so long as you're willing to crouch down to its low-set cabin. Before you write off the 3 Series facelift as a mild cosmetic job, you should know that the bigger changes have actually taken place under the skin, mainly under the bonnet. The updated 320d is the latest recipient of BMW's new 2-liter diesel engine, the same one you'd find on the X3 and the new X1. The new engine is identical to the old one in displacement, but otherwise there's little carried over from before. Peak power is up 6 bhp to 187 bhp and peak torque is up 2 kgm to a meaty 40.7 kgm. But before I get to the performance, there's something else to bring up. The first thing to notice about the new BMW engine is that refinement has taken a step up. You don't get that noisy, harsh clatter at idle that you would in the old 320d's engine. The engine is still audible, but it's not bad in the least. Also, when you rev it up, it doesn't sound as busy as the older 320d's engine did. When you do load it up, it can sound a bit coarse at times, but you won't really complain about it. The improved refinement has addressed one of the weak points of the old 320d, but thankfully performance is strong as ever. BMW has a knack of getting its diesel engines right, and that's no different on this one either. It's an exciting engine that really complements the 3 Series personality. It's free revving, you have a lovely wide power band to play with, and there is massive punch in the mid-range. In fact, switch to Sport Plus mode with manual gear shifts and the engine will rev to a very un-diesel-like 5600 RPM. It's quick too. 0 to 100 kph takes 7.58 seconds now, which is about 2/10 quicker than the old 320d. Of course, what helps performance is the excellent 8-speed gearbox. It's nice and fast shifting as is, but it's also just so responsive to inputs at the pedals or at the gear lever. It's a comfortable car too. The 3 Series always really had very nice ride quality, and I think it's got better still with the tweaks to the suspension. Body control certainly seems to have improved. There's less vertical movement, and the ride just feels a little bit more composed. The suspension is absorbent, but if you opt for one of the models with the sportier, lower profile tires, you will feel a lot of the sharper edges coming through. Our car came with the optional 20-inch wheel rims. Improvements to the steering have made the 3 Series more dynamic as well. There's beautiful balance, turn-in is sharper, and the overall driving experience is more invigorating than before. In all, the 3 Series feels more rounded now, and that should have anyone with the right money really interested in one. Prices for the 320d start at 35.9 lakh rupees and top off at 44.5 lakh rupees for this M Sport version. Spec to spec, the 320d is more expensive than the comparable Mercedes C220 CDI, which also happens to be the benchmark among luxury diesel sedans. Question is the revitalized 3 worth the higher asking price? Now that's something we can only tell you when we get the two together.
Bajaj's unveil of the V15 was sheer genius because in one clean sweep they managed to tug at the heartstrings of every Indian because of the V15's connect to the INS Vikrant. But today we've got the V15 with us for a quick ride, and we've got to find out whether it can live up to the hype or not.
In no small measure, the V15 does impress. It looks well built with good levels of paint quality and gritty looking logos. And that is a good start.
Now, as motorcycles get better and better by and large, manufacturers have to rely on design to create a distinct differentiator. And that's really the case with the V15. It has a very distinctive styling, and it seems to be working because today while we were shooting, people in cars, people on more premium motorcycles stopped by to inquire about the V15, and it was really impressive to them. So it's doing that job, and I think what works is the fact that it's got this long, low stance, looks muscular, the tires wide, it's got an 18-inch front, 16-inch rear, but very wide tires, so it gives it that planted stance. But something that I'm still not a big fan of is the headlamp, which I still feel does give it a bit of an awkward look.
The instrument cluster is also a bit basic, with no trip meter, and there's no engine kill switch either. The INS Vikrant logo and the removable cowl for the pillion seat are the standout features. Hit the road and you have a simple single-cylinder 150cc engine with a 2-valve head. Its power output of 11.8 bhp is much lower than most 150cc motorcycles. But it offers 1.3 kilograms of torque from very low RPMs.
You know what really defines the intent of this motorcycle is its engine. Now at the launch there was this whole discussion of whether it's a cruiser or a cafe racer. Well, the engine tells all. It's a commuter. That's what Bajaj intended it to be, and that's what it does really well. So it's not sporty enough to be a cafe racer. It doesn't have the long legs to cruise on the highway. At about 70 kph, that's its sweet spot. At about 80, you start feeling a little bit of a buzz through the seat. But in the city, at low speeds, it just feels so easy to use. I mean, you can stick it in 5th gear, leave it at 30 kilometers an hour, just amble along, open the gas, and it'll start moving forward smoothly. You can even pick up from 20 kph in 4th gear. So it's got all that torque, low down in the rev range, and you can put it to good use in the city. One annoying bit though is that this 5-speed gearbox has an all-upshift pattern. So It takes some getting used to for most of us, but for traditional commuters, I guess that's where the focus is for Bajaj. That's what is the preferred mode of shifting.
But commuters will appreciate the V15's expected fuel efficiency of 50 to 55 kilometers per litre. One aspect of the V15 that doesn't seem like a commuter at all is its exhaust note. It sounds meaty and solid. That isn't the only thing that's solid about the V15. It also has a healthy wheelbase and a stuck-to-the-ground kind of feel, although it doesn't sacrifice on agility because of this. But the seating posture takes some getting used to.
Now in terms of ergonomics, it's going to be a comfortable motorcycle even for taller riders because it feels fairly spacious. It's got a 780mm seat height, so even shorter riders will be comfortable on it. And to steer, it feels very nice and light. It's got a very tight turning radius, so will be great for the city again. What's really nice is smaller details that Bajaj have looked into. For instance, the brake, it has a disc brake, but the way it works is it's not too sharp. So people using a disc brake for the first time won't get intimidated by it. It feels very progressive to use, and along with that, you've got very strong rubber as well, giving you good amount of grip, which is often not the case on commuter motorcycles. The V15 also handles bumps and rough sections quite well, although a slightly softer ride would have been nice.
While we didn't ride with a pillion, it should be a cozy arrangement. So for about 62,000 rupees ex-showroom, the V15 isn't the most sensible or the most well-rounded commuter you could buy today. But things get a little confusing when you think of it as a slice of history.
So what Bajaj has managed to do with the V15 is bring a lot of heart into a segment where decisions are generally made by the head. And our hearts would have beaten just a little bit faster for the V15 as well if the engine had been just a little bit smoother and the ride had been a bit more pliant, helping it become just that nicer commuter for the city.
So the V15 doesn't break new ground as a commuter, but for those riders looking for an added splash of appeal and design, the V15 deserves a closer look.
We've already featured the Mercedes-Benz GLE 450 AMG Coupe on the Autocar show before. You already know how good it looks, how it drives, how fast it is, how comfortable it is. But I'm not going to be alone just with the GLE Coupe, because with me is going to be something else that's bought just to have fun with. And here it goes. Yup, that's a plane all right. But it's a lot smaller than what you probably pictured. In fact, this one's controlled by a remote. It's a scaled-down version of the Extra 330 SC, the world champion aerobatic aircraft for 2009, 2013, 2014 and 2015. It's 8 feet long and powered by a manic 2-stroke boxer engine. At the controls is 16-year-old RC Viz Harshil Mane, who's just itching to show what his plane is capable of. The plane and car may be the stars, but the setting is no less special. We are all the way down south in Rameshwaram. Our day starts early in the morning at the iconic Pamban Bridge that actually connects Rameshwaram to mainland India. It's where the GLE and the RC are to come into the same frame for the very first time. Except doing so isn't easy. Driving in a straight line, not a problem. Flying an RC plane straight in a strong crosswind, that involves some serious maneuvering. It's like driving a car straight with full steering lock. The action now shifts to the white sands of Dhanushkodi and its turquoise blue waters. The plane will do a flyby, but the GLE, I'm going to take my chances. works! I'm literally driving through water. This is mad! Oh, the things 362 bhp and all-wheel drive can let you do. Flying conditions are good, so the plane erupts into some crazy moves of its own. It's flying upside down and even hovering perpendicular to the ground. Now, that's something they call a prop hang. I can sense the plane and its operator don't want to be outdone by the car. Some friendly competition certainly seems to be brewing. Oh, it's become a competition, all right. We found a lovely straight that's good enough to launch the car to 100 kph and beyond. But from within the car, the distinct buzz of the plane's boxer motor is always audible. It's flying closer. Has this become a race? It surely wasn't part of the plan, but what can I say? Boys will be boys. There's no fixed finish line or even timing equipment at hand, but both seek glory. That doesn't stop me from winning the first few impromptu heats. But in its next few sorties, it's the plane that takes off with the wind. Harshal's victory lap turns out to become a spectacle in its own right. Bah! I'm confident in the right setting, the GLE Coupe will provide an even more exciting show. The next step, the search for this right setting. We drive and drive and drive, and then finally chance upon a place that fits the bill. With acres and acres of soft sand and dune, this is the ultimate playground for an SUV. Tire pressures lowered, electronics primed, it's showtime. Sun, sand and spin. That's what it's all about. The GLE Coupe shows some true grit as I literally indulge in some sand blasting. There's a curtain of sand by the windows and I'm absolutely loving it. A low flyby past a dune reminds me there's a plane in this picture too. Let's increase the level of showmanship to 11. I think my compatriot thinks the same too, because for every power slide, or powder slide if you will, from the GLE Coupe, the plane dives into a textbook perfect trick of its own. Both the GLE and RC plane are very exclusive and both let you have loads of fun. Different terrains weren't a challenge, but playing catch-up with a wind-cutting airplane took all it had from the GLE. Which one looked more dramatic? Well, I'll just let you decide.
Meet the Maruti Alto, India's best-selling car, a title it's held since 2004. And this week it added another feather to its cap as it became the first car in India to cross the 3 million sales milestone. The feat comes almost 16 years after the first Alto was launched in India in September 2000. Since then, the brand has kept evolving to keep itself relevant over the years. Naturally, the car's history serves as a case study on reading the Indian customer.
The answer actually lies in understanding this customer, the entry-level customer, and that's what our forte has been. And we've been reinventing this brand to meet the expectations of this customer. So initially when we started off, it was a city car, a peppy city car. Over time, when mileage was becoming very important, that's what the brand stood for. And today, the brand stands for two things. So there is a segment which is very, very dependent on the affordability part and who's looking for a very fuel-efficient part. For them, it's the Alto 800. Yet there's another segment which is emerging who looks at an entry-level car which has also got performance. So for them, it's the Alto K10. And between these two, we've been doing a very, very good business.
At a time when the competition is out to break the norm, Maruti continues to stick to its proven formula, especially when talking design.
The typical first-time buyer is looking for reliability because for him, even putting that 2.5-3 lakhs is a big amount of money, and that's where the trust and reliability becomes very, very important. And Alto is the shape which has been which he's grown up with, so he's very confident when he's buying that kind of a car. So the form factor certainly works in that case.
Of course, the primary draw of the Alto has been its price. But when safety and emission requirements threaten to increase prices, will the Alto be able to hold on to its affordable price tag?
When we launched the Alto in 2000, we launched it, the LX model at 2.99 lakhs. Today, the same variant is priced around 2.94. So we are conscious that the pricing is very, very critical. And at the same time, safety is very, very critical to our customer and to us. And that's the reason why we've been taking the lead when it comes to offering safety variants in all our models now. So I'm sure that we'll be able to meet this customer requirement.
For now, Maruti suggests that the Alto will remain true to its roots and any future version would be more of an evolution than a revolution. And with sales showing no signs of slowing down, you can hardly argue with that logic.